I wish there were palm trees on 495. I wish there were palm trees.
Welcome to the 495 podcast, brought to you by Greater Long Island Media Group. This is your host, Michael White, and with me as always is
Nick Esposito.
We're here with Andrew Preston, the founder of Local to Locals, and Joe Abruzzo, co-founder of WA Meadwerks in Lindenhurst.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Got it right first time.
This is going to be a great show. We got a lot of educating to do today, and we're going to learn about a lot of interesting things. But I don't want to give away the store. It helps that I didn't do my homework for this show because I wouldn't know how to give away the store if I wanted to.
Like you said, on the fly.
But honestly, I honestly didn't want to, Andrew, look too much into this because I want to kind of discover more about what you do, as the show goes on. And Joe, we've been to WA Meadwerks already, and that place is fantastic.
Thank you.
You could read about it on greaterbabylon.com. Just do a search for WA Meadwerks. Google them, Facebook them, tag them on Instagram.
Visit them.
And and if you don't know what mead is, you're about to find out.
The genesis of this whole thing. What is Local to Locals?
Well, first off, before you start local locals, could we start drinking yet? Can we open up some mead?
We got to open up a mead.
All right, so we could do all this at the same time. So.
So first and foremost, appreciate you guys having me on here and allowing Joe to attend. He's making me thirstier by the second as he's opening that mead. So yeah, essentially what Local to Locals is, it's the logo itself is a certification mark. Familiar certification marks to most people is non-GMO, USDA organic. In the brewing industry, the Independent Brewers Association seal. So what this tells a consumer is that either a manufacturer, be it a donut place, be it a brewery, be it a meadery, a winery, is independently owned and operated.
Local news organization?
Local news organizations, we could do that too. Or a retailer, whether it be a beer distributor, a bar, or a restaurant, is independently owned and operated. And if it's ever on a product, whether it's on a can or a unique tap handle adapter piece, both conditions are present. So when you're supporting this logo, when you're supporting the places or you're supporting the product, you can be confident that the money that you're spending is staying at home in the community.
Very nice. And Andrew, could you tell us a little bit about your background and how this all came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually own a beer distributor in Hicksville. I've been in the business for over 7 years now, which is a little crazy. I'm only 30, and that kind of shocks me. But I had a unique opportunity to buy a business, and one of the appealing parts of Hicksville specifically was that there wasn't really craft beer in the store. Craft beer at the time was Sierra Nevada, Sam Adams, Goose Island. So that was a unique opportunity for me to step in.
Pete's Wicked Ale
back in the day, absolutely.
I'm dating myself. I'm almost 40. So
the strawberry blonde.
I used to drink that before I was really allowed to drink that.
Yeah,
it's delicious.
Same thing.
So I've been fortunate enough to do that and have a pretty successful career, and it's one of those things. Part of what launched this is breweries in New York and local businesses face very similar struggles. Joe from Meadwerks has to compete in a marketplace where there's 1,000 different brands that are sold on Long Island that aren't even from the state. Vice versa, we have, as a retailer or as a bar or restaurant, have to compete in a marketplace where there's a new corporation opening up on every other block that threatens your livelihood of a business.
And just to segue to Joe, I mean, in addition to fighting with all these brands and all this share in the marketplace, there's an education process going on with mead itself. You're the only operating meadery on Long Island. So if you want to just kind of like take the helm and even explain what it is to people who don't even know.
Okay, so for those who don't know what mead is, it's a form of wine made from the base fermentable sugar. Our base fermentable sugar is honey. So, like all alcohol, to make alcohol, you need sugar. Where beer, the base sugar comes from malt. Regular grape wine, the sugar comes from pressed grapes. So, our main sugar component is honey. And then from there, we could design recipes anywhere from 3% upwards to 25%. And within that, we could do any sort of sweetness level, from super sweet dessert sweetness to dryness. So it's a very versatile product right now.
And you can carbonate it too, right?
You can. That's what this is right now. It's this particular one here is it was all Tangerine Dream. It's my Biggie Smalls reference. It's a 5.2% tangerine mead with lactose. So we use lactose sometimes because it's popular in the beer world. It's more of like our milkshake style meads.
It's delicious.
It's awesome.
I think it's pretty good. I like it. Thank you.
When we wrote about the stores, you guys, you laid out the gambit of just all your different. I had the peanut butter and jelly one, right? That one was awesome.
Well, that's what you get for showing up. You have to taste everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's part of my education.
If you write an article about him, he'll give you the goods.
Yeah, you want to come write an article? I'll give you all the alcohol. I want you to at least know what you're writing about.
Yeah,
So when you guys came, I had to let you guys know what. Give you a little bit of education, let you know, and let you taste what we make, so you understand it a little better.
So tell us about the tasting room and the brewing operation there. What do you call it?
We're a full tasting room. We're a winery.
Yeah.
We have a full we're a fully bonded winery. So therefore, we have a different license than all the breweries around here. So our license is a lot closer to any of the licenses on the North Fork and those wineries than it is to any brewery.
Was that tougher to get? Did people not know what to make of it?
No, it was actually, fairly easy for the most part.
That means you got ag and markets on your side. That always helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually got super lucky. We contacted a guy named John Springer who does a lot of that TTB work for you for a very nominal fee. It's some of the best money we spent, actually.
631-555.
I have to look at my phone. I can give everyone who wants to deal with liquor licenses and TTBs and all that. I can get this guy John Springer's number.
Very cool.
He's out of Port Jeff, but like that was he did all the work for us.
Awesome. And when did you guys open up, and how have things been at the meadery ever since?
We took the space over March 1st. We opened our door September 8th. We've been open 5.5 months now. It's crazy. It's been
already ready to expand.
Already ready to expand. We've actually already ordered 3 bigger tanks to be able to make bigger batches of draft style meads and to be able to get our stuff out there to bars and restaurants and
build out the tasting room.
Yes, we expanded the tasting room. Made the tasting room a little bigger.
Good thing you're here, because he wouldn't know what to say.
Well, I was getting to that. Jeez.
Part of my job is to help promote these guys. So.
Andrew does a great job promoting all the local businesses that are involved with locals. It's really, really awesome. But as a whole, we surpassed our first 4 months sales numbers by 55%.
Wow.
We've just been. I don't know. I'm almost dumbfounded by it right now. To as busy as we've been and how awesome it's been for people that don't know what we really do.
And it's January and February, and in the beverage industry, if you're up anything, that's a positive.
Yeah, February hasn't been. We haven't really hit a slow month yet.
Now,
so that's good.
What's a Friday happy hour look like over at WA Meadwerks? What's the scene like? Set the scene.
Sometimes we're a slower starter. So like we open at 3 because I'm usually there working all day. But come 5:30, 6 o'clock, we start to fill in. Like we start to do food trucks. 6:30, 7 o'clock, like there could be 35 people in there. It could be completely packed. Awesome. And 35, 40 people for us is a lot. You guys have seen the tasting room. That's why we had to expand it.
Are they going to allow you to do like outdoor patio seating?
Yeah, we talked to the village. The village is going to allow us to do outdoor seating come the summertime. We have a few other little tricks up our sleeves too. Frozen mead machines and
awesome.
Don't give them all out now.
Yeah, I know.
But you got to definitely reach out to us, and we'll definitely write about it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So
That's
check
a news story.
Yeah, so reach out to us, and it'll be on GreaterBabylon.com.
Perfect. We definitely reach out to you guys.
So all right, so you've been thriving in Lindenhurst. When did you kind of team up with Andrew here, and you joined ship with the local to locals?
About a month ago, Andrew popped in, talked to us, and a lot of my friends are brewery owners, and. For example, Dubco. I've been friends with those guys for forever when they were homebrewing in West Islip. And once they got involved with it, I started talking to Chris and Brad, and they were super pumped on it. So it didn't take much to sell me on it after that. Reached out, me and Andrew talked, and we jumped on board.
So you were a home brewer before you were brewing beer before you.
No, I've actually never brewed a beer.
Okay, but your partner has.
Besides with Dubco.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. That beer will be out soon. We'll discuss that a little later.
Sounds great.
No, my buddies used to brew beers, and I used to just bring beers. I was really good
and drank a lot of them.
I was really good at bringing beer over because I've been in craft beer for a long time. Like my first job, every single job I've had since I was 16 years old revolved around alcohol. Every single one.
And how did you get the first job? Did it have anything to do with patroning a place?
No. I was a high school kid, and I worked at a beer distributor, and a lot of high school kids worked at that beer distributor. But I ended up spending almost 6 years there, and learning a lot about beer.
That was Islip cold beer, right?
Yeah, Islip cold beer.
Bobby, been there forever.
Harry Bobby.
Where you from, Joe? Again?
I'm from Islip.
Okay. Yeah, a bunch of my friends worked in North Babylon at the beer distributor.
Superstar?
Yeah, Superstar Beverage. Yeah, they worked there throughout
Before,
high school.
probably before Neil.
This is
did.
the 90s.
Yeah, probably before Neil.
Wow, that's so you guys have that in common too, the beer distributor background
Yep.
as well.
Beer distributor,
Speak each other's language.
craft beer bars. I've beer hoarding,
Beer hoarding? That's
Yeah.
Beer cellaring.
good
beer
show.
cellaring. I'm at the point I'm kind of a hoarder now.
So
Now, do you drink more mead or beer now?
I drink a fair amount of mead. I'm in a bunch of mead clubs because I joined for R&D purposes. See what else is out there because not a lot of it exists around here.
You just want to write stuff off.
Well, now I can. Now when I first started, I spent a ton of money on. I drink a fair amount of beer also too, because I mean sometimes you have
you got to keep it real. right?
4 or 5. Gotta go back to my roots, bro.
Shoot, Andrew, I had a good question for you. Oh, so what happened to the beer ball? You said they don't do that anymore.
I've always had those questions, and in my time in the industry, I've yet to ever see a beer ball. So I want to see a beer ball, but I've only heard of them in mystery. So.
They're usually near the nitrous tanks.
Yeah, no, we never got the opportunity to sell those things.
Yeah,
We're doing slim kegs now. So.
Yeah, I guess they were around this. They were eighth of a keg, I guess, and they were orange.
I think they were 3.5. I think they were 3.5 gallons. We had them when I worked at Islip Cold Beer in 1996. Like that was like almost like I feel like that was almost like the tail end of them. They weren't even
that sounds about
They
right,
started to like fade away after that point.
And if those were 3.5 gallon, slim kegs now are 5 gallons. So I think that's
Yeah,
kind of
there was
what
something like that, or 3. There were 3 gallons or 3 cases.
3 cases
Maybe
kind of rings a bell.
Maybe I think it was
actually.
3.5 cases or something like that. It
Yeah.
was.
Get some
And you get
Natty
that
Light.
weird tap that you have to like, break it into it. They
times.
make kegs like that just now. Like I saw an Andrew before. We got a bunch of disposable kegs that we're going to start using that are. I feel like they're very similar to those plastic kegs,
Gotcha.
except they're just not round.
Look up beer bowls on the computer. I want to see
Let's
this.
see what happens.
What about the mini kegs? Those were trending too in the early 2000s.
Yeah, Heineken came out with those little
Dinklelacker,
5-liter
Heineken.
kegs.
I think
But unfortunately, they had,
Dinklelacker. I feel like Dinklelacker.
yeah,
had it
but
first.
then Heineken came out the one where you could actually carbonate it, and they had a patent on it, and nobody else was allowed to use
Is
it.
that
Yeah,
right?
so-
It looks like an old lady perfume, like giant
there it
bottle,
is.
you know?
Yeah.
There it is. The
Dinklelacker had them,
ball.
but you had they didn't like that. Now they had the taps that come out.
Yeah.
These you had to get the taps for and like lay them sideways.
Yes, you had to lay them sideways.
okay.
Yeah,
Right,
it was
yeah,
there was a weird and like when I
used
worked
to
in
get
Michigan,
them.
we had them and like you would always lose the taps. So like someone tried to buy them and you couldn't find the tap. Like, oh, sorry, can't sell this to you. Can't get the beer out of
Yeah,
it.
we used to get them at Big Z Beverages in Elwood. That was the only place that sold Mickey's malt liquor too. Me and my buddies used to drink Mickey's, just because we thought it was cool. We tried it later on, and we had a reunion. Like, we're drinking Mickey's tonight.
It was
And
not the same.
it was not the same. My one buddy was like hating on me because I didn't like it anymore. I'm like, I can't apologize for that. This stuff is gross.
Yeah.
But we did get the Mickey's tattoos on our shoulders.
The Mickey Mouse tattoo?
No, it's like a hornet on the top of the Mickey's
It's a
malt
real
liquor.
bro
They have
tattoo.
Yeah, that's
it's a real
dedication.
bro. Yeah. That's how you know.
Dedication to a brand.
Frat life.
A little weird.
Brand ambassador.
So, Joe, you've been collaborating with the breweries. You kind of mentioned it before. Dubco, you're doing a beer with, but breweries are starting to take you on tap, right?
Yeah, so right now we pretty much have a permanent lineup at Brickhouse Brewery. Paul's a very good friend of mine, a very good friend of the community.
Paul, the brewmaster.
Paul Brewmaster, yeah, Paul Cosmic. So and what we did so far with him, on top of him having the keg there, we did our first barrel aged mead, which we released about a month and a half ago. A sweet cherry mead aged in a fresh rye barrel. From there, Paul did a collaboration with Steve at Barrage, and they did a honey rye porter. On Paul's first visit to the meadery, he saw that the barrel was empty and was like, "Hey, what are you doing with that barrel?" So he actually took the barrel and pulled off 30 gallons of their honey rye porter collaboration and aged their beer.
We're gonna have to tape Joe's hand to the
Yeah.
to the arm of that.
He gets excited. That's all.
Hey,
Keeps it in the wire. It's okay. Keep going, Joe.
they took 30 gallons of that and aged their beer in our barrel.
Awesome.
That should be out of that barrel soon, in the next couple weeks. Then we're gonna the three of us are gonna do another collaboration to make something to go back into that barrel.
Oh, awesome. When is the release date on that? You think?
We don't know when, but I know We're going to have a cask of it at the Blueprint Cask Festival.
Oh, nice. They're going to be having that right here. That's about 2 weeks before they open in April.
Yeah. I was just there yesterday. I mean, people listening to this 6 months from now, but February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, I was at the Blue Point Brewery, and place is amazing.
It's great.
Place is amazing. Really, it's going to be an awesome place. I was talking to him off mic. I'm like, this is going to be like a tourist destination. Like people from all around are going to want to take a train out.
That's why they're really advocating for a hotel down here to be built.
Yeah, I think AB envisions this like a Sam Adams. Like when you go to Boston, you visit Sam Adams. I think they want to capture that audience and bring them out on trains to visit the Blue Point Brewery.
Yeah,
and we could hit a golf ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't hit a golf ball.
But going back to what Joe was just mentioning about working with Brickhouse, working with Barrage, that's one of the biggest things that I'm looking to do also is just network these guys so they can work with one another, showcase one another, cross-promote one another. So he's doing a beer with Dubco right now. Jimmy and Kelly from North Fork Donut Company, who were supposed to be on the show, they got a little busy with Valentine's Day. They just recently did a Homer Simpson-inspired beer with Destination Unknown also. It's a strawberry frosted donut milkshake IPA set to release February 21st, that roughly that week. And then, it's just... A lot of what we do is just trying to help bring awareness to these guys. We talked a little bit before the show. Breweries like Greenport Harbor or Oyster Bay, they're named after a town, so if you have a positive association with that town, you're more likely to grab that product. Whereas WA Meadwerks, Destination Unknown, Spider Bite, Barrier, Brewers Collective, to the average consumer, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. But now this is a way, if you see the logo, you could easily identify that a brand is local. Now start doing your own research, whether it be on the can, based on style, and then you go home, you enjoy the product. Then if you go anywhere else and see it in a corporate store, then you buy in and support that.
And is that your pitch when you go in and you knock on these doors like at WA Meadwerks and other local places? Is that your pitch when you go to these places?
It's definitely part of it. It's part of it is bringing more awareness to you, but then the other part is just networking. And the same reason we all ask people to support us is because we're a local business. Now try giving back. And so bars and restaurants that it launched in, we're looking a verbal commitment of 25% of their draft lines to be New York State-based products. And that doesn't seem like a lot, and I haven't verified the statistic, but I've been told it by multiple people. In New York State, only 6% of draft lines are New York State-based products, where if you go to a state like Vermont, over 60% are Vermont-based products. Yeah. So this is just a way for everybody to work with one another.
Awesome. And how many, actually I have two questions for you. That's what I wanted to ask you before. The Independent Brewers label?
Yep.
How is that different from what you're doing, if you could just educate us on that?
That just certifies that a brewery is independently owned and operated. They have a little bit different stipulations than I may have. Specifically for me, you can't be a publicly traded company and qualify for that seal. There is a brewery outside of the state that is a publicly traded company and qualifies for it. And it does nothing to protect or showcase the retailers and the brewery, the restaurants. So part of me is really trying to protect the retailer aspect of it, the restaurant aspect of it, the bar aspect, but at the same time help bring more awareness and relevance to the breweries at the same time.
Now, what are the requirements? What are the stipulations to get a local to locals logo on you?
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's different ones for manufacturers or retailers, but the gist of it is independently owned and operated. If you're a manufacturer, you must be producing the goods within the state. You're not a publicly traded company. You're not a franchise. There's a bunch of different ones.
And how many tattoos have people gotten?
Zero. We're not that big yet.
Well, Mike has a right arm. Yeah, Mike has a right arm that doesn't have a tattoo.
I have a right shoulder that needs something. But then if we go publicly traded, I'll have to get it removed. Put a unicorn over it or something.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Maybe by that point, there'd be a local to local tattoo removal.
Yeah.
I locally removed stupid tattoos.
Well, I guess if you're branding yourself, as long as you stay living in the state of New York, you're local to New York.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you leave New York, that has to be removed.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe like gang. You just cut it off.
Now, Long Island Brewery, for instance, before they found their spot in Riverhead, used to brew a portion of their beer in Connecticut.
Correct.
Would that have disqualified them at the time?
Specific Connecticut, yes. Spider Bite actually is a perfect example of this. Spider Bite has 3 of their beers that are brewed in Massachusetts, I believe. But if they're going to use the logo on a product, they just have to either brew it out of their own facility, which is too small to support this program and what we're doing. So when he brewed this chocolate coconut porter, he brewed it at Great South Bay. So as long as the contract is done within the state of New York, you're allowed to use the logo for that specific
so Spider
beer.
Bite could have some beers with the local to locals logo and some without it.
Correct.
Interesting.
So what has the response been like from not your people that partnered with you, but from the average folks just shopping around? Have you gotten a response from them?
Yeah, I mean, I've had some people reach out to me. Everything's been through word of mouth right now. Just launching at the restaurant Coastal in Bayshore, we did a charity tap takeover, kind of make it a little bit more unique than the standard tap takeover. Every brewery chose a local charity of their choice, and for every beer sold that night, Anthony donated $1. The breweries had the option to match it. There were raffles. Happened to be on the night it snowed in November, and we were still able to raise over $2,000 that night.
Yeah, that was like it was like a foot in
Dude,
like an hour.
that night was brutal.
It took me an hour to drive 12 miles that night.
Because of that event, because of his restaurants having the logo, having the adapter pieces, over 24 restaurants have joined. And it's very, and like I said, on social media, I have people reach out to me every single day and ask questions about what it's about. And it's just, I'm a one-man show running around doing podcasts, meeting with breweries, meeting with restaurants. And it's been fun, though. The huge part for me is finding out about all these places and seeing how they first started. I can't wait till Meadwerks is ready to expand into a bigger location, so at least I know how he first started.
Yeah. And what's the long game for you? Like, what is like the best case scenario for you and the company in 10 years from now, or something like that?
That it's a statewide recognized logo, and if it ever gets really big, because like I said, it works on a state-by-state basis, if I could prove its concept in New York, it would be a worldwide recognized logo. But I'm not thinking that far ahead. My goal is just to build the network, and the ideas I have are plentiful. And then we got to start giving back to the consumers that are supporting it, whether it be through a loyalty card program, a discount program, but everything in life costs money, so we're little by little attacking it.
And when are you going to go public?
Is this public right now?
Yeah, public podcast.
Yeah. So tell us about these.
So yeah, this is a unique.
Good for radio, Mike.
The radio people can't see, but I'm holding up a.
But if you go Facebook
cube.
Live, there's a cube that now these local breweries that have been certified by me have the ability to use it, and I sell those directly into the restaurants. That's part of their 25% commitment. They are allowed to showcase these breweries, and nobody from out of state could qualify for this adapter piece. So right off the bat, if you have 10 draft lines and you're committing 3 to these local breweries, you're going to stand out from a crowded field.
So you put this cube on top of your
then their tap handle piece goes on top of that. Then we give them 3 menus to help describe the logo and what it really is. And there's also some people within the state that may not be able to qualify.
This is brilliant. Who came up with this? Was this you?
This was me, yes. I wish it was patentable. That's where I could have made a lot of money.
So, when you decided you already had your full-time business that you run in Hicksville. Were people like, you crazy to try and do this?
You crazy.
People call me crazy all the time. People call me crazy when I bought a store when I was 23 years old. So it's turned out pretty well, though. To me, if you're passionate about something, you believe in something, you want to work hard at something, anything is possible. Again, this is not a money grab. This is a passion project for me. Also, part of the commitment is 10% of revenues, not profits, revenues get given back to local charities or small business initiatives throughout the state. Just last year, we mentioned that tap takeover. That was over $2,000. And we also contributed $500 to the New York State Craft Brewers Association to give back to them and become an allied member, and $500 to the New York State Association of Beverage Center, because that's where it launched. Each year, we'll see where the support is coming from. If it's a lot of Bayshore restaurants, we're going to give back to Bayshore. We're going to do whatever we can.
So I'm kind of interested to learning like the beginning steps, because obviously you go to a supermarket and you see the GMO free or the all those other labels. Like, how do you, what's the first step into getting involved on your end to try and make your own label and this whole concept?
Calling a lawyer. No. First was coming up with a logo. I guess the concept. Luckily, I have my brother does graphic design, and he's into that, so he was fortunate enough to do it. He doesn't do anything for free, even, but you try to take care of him. Younger brother, so
give him some mead.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna. I bartered with him. So
what's this other stuff here too?
You ready to open another one as you talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
But yeah, so it was first coming up with the design. As that was kind of happening, we continued to develop the concept, and I could tell you, I had no idea what I was doing. The first brewery I met with just an idea, not even thinking about this yet, happened to be Blue Point, and now Blue Point can't specifically qualify for it because of their AB ownership. But after meeting with and look, with the whole Blue Point thing, this is not a knock on them. I tell people all the time, if you're going to support a corporate line, if you're going to support a corporate business on Long Island, it absolutely should be Blue Point, because they still create a ton of jobs. Like you said, the brewery is still going to draw a ton of tourists into the town to spend money and then hopefully spill over onto Main Street. But for what we're doing, they just don't qualify. And for me, if you don't qualify for this logo, most likely means you probably already made it already. and if you do qualify for it and then one day don't, that means I did my job.
I like that.
So I hope Joe sells out for a couple $1 million and he could thank me one day.
Yeah.
No
You could have,
kickbacks necessary.
Logo removal parties.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
And then, it was calling a lawyer and learning the whole trademark process, and then learning about a certification mark is even more complicated than just a generic trademark. But
Quick intermission. Joe, what did you just pour for us?
You have to tell us what we're drinking here.
This is our Mitternacht, which in German translates to basically to midnight. It's our standard strength, 14.5% black currant mead, finished on French oak.
This is what I liked when I was in Lindenhurst.
Yeah, this stuff is good. This is my favorite.
Little higher ABV.
This is lit. This is my favorite.
This is lit. I thought you were about to say.
Nah, too old for that stuff. Lit.
This is lit.
I think that's what the kids are saying nowadays.
Biggie Smalls
We used to
reference.
say- we
Beats
used to say lit
headphones.
in the 90s. I was shocked that it came back.
What?
We used to say lit in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah.
mint was
Well,
very
mint,
popular.
mint's awesome. I'm gonna try to bring that back.
Yeah, let's bring mint back.
Yeah.
If you hear it, this is where you
maybe
heard
we
it
can start with
first.
a mint mead.
Yeah.
That's mint.
Recipe
That's
ideas.
mint. That's mint. That could be the name of it.
Dope. I like dope.
Well, you can't put dope in your mead.
No,
Not yet. Maybe next year.
yeah, we're getting there. It's getting there. But this is one of our original homebrew recipes that's been tweaked a bit. So I like this one a lot.
It's awesome.
This is closely we do to like a standard red wine, but with the tartness and the acidity of the black currant.
And what's the alcohol on it?
14.5.
Wow.
All right. Back to you, Andrew. So how many people do you have in total, part of the membership that sport the L local to local?
Right now, there's over 60 plus beer stores spread out across the island. Kind of how it all started to bring awareness to them. It's up to, I believe, 13 or 14 breweries, meaderies, manufacturers, and I believe it's at roughly 24 restaurants right now. We're trying to meet with people as often as possible. I stopped at. 2 days ago, I did a Beer Sessions radio podcast, and we met with, prior to that, Five Boroughs Brewing Company in Braven in Brooklyn. So technically try to expand our reach over there. And then it's going to be at a point, there's going to be too many breweries signed up and not enough restaurants. Then we got to get more restaurants signed up and just trying to find that balance.
Like you said, it's kind of word to mouth too. So has it been a steady growth or has it been exponential? Like once all these guys start talking about it, like, other breweries just like say, you got to talk to Andrew. Is that kind of how it...
Yeah, it's. I would be honest, it's not growing as fast as I thought it would, but at the same time, it has been all through word of mouth due to my obligations to my paying job. But it's also, once the restaurant aspect happened, it kind of took off a little bit faster than I expected.
Now you're a lot more visible at the tap lines.
Yes, and that goes back to the thing. On Long Island, there's 100 beer distributors. In New York State, there's 350. Bars and restaurants, there's 2,500 just on Long Island, and somebody told me there's like 30,000 in the 5 boroughs. So there's a lot more avenue for reach there.
And how many news organizations have signed up?
We're waiting for your first sponsorship. Maybe we'll barter, the old barter system.
The whole barter system. That
That's
sounds
mint.
good. Would Newsday qualify? Are they publicly traded?
I would have to dig in. That's part of my job is doing the research and seeing who owns them, where they're located, where.
Well, News 12 wouldn't be because they're owned by a French company.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, Altice, right?
Yeah, so we could be Long Island's only locally owned
Independently, locally owned media organization.
that's associated with.
Island
Till
wide.
you do Greater Hoboken, and then I gotta nick
Kick
you.
us out,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just do that under the radar for a while.
yeah, just a separate LLC.
We'll have Benny run it.
I thought you were leaning in. We're sharing a mic today, so if you hear us knock heads, that's what's happening. Go ahead.
Well, it's Valentine's Day, so Mike likes to be close to me on Valentine's Day.
It is adorable, guys.
Every Valentine's Day.
To everyone that can't see
me.
them sitting close to each other, it's really nice.
And for people only listening, they're interlocking their forearms and drinking out of the opposite cup. So
There's a lot of romance going on here in this podcast.
Well, speaking of Valentine's Day, you guys do anything special today? People that are watching on the Facebook Live.
We're just opening at 4. I had to prolong our opening time an hour today to be here.
So we owe you an hour.
Yeah, you don't owe me anything.
he doesn't know his labor costs yet, so you're good. It's free.
Yeah, it's free. I don't know what my real value is. So you guys are real lucky right now.
My wife and I schedule didn't work out as well today, so we actually did a Valentine's Day breakfast at Toast Coffee House in Port Jefferson.
Oh, nice.
She got home to nice flowers delivered by Nectar and Bloom, a local florist that just recently started shop on Long Island, and then now I'm here and headed to work after this.
That's where the barter system works out real well. Right?
Yeah.
I'll trade you sour beer for flowers.
And you're right. You're in Mount Sinai, right?
Yep, I live in Mount Sinai.
Yeah, we cover that. Our Greater Port Jefferson site covers
Yep.
Mount Sinai, Miller Place, Rocky Point, Coram, Port Jefferson, Stony Brook, Setauket, East Setauket, South Setauket, and all those little villages.
Expanding by the day.
By the day.
We're taking over.
Yeah.
It's like a disease.
A good disease.
It's like a
We're adding-
great-
yeah, we're gonna-
The disease you want.
that doesn't make sense. I mean, who really wants a disease?
If he's making money doing it, yeah, I'm sure he wants that.
Yeah.
I guess that could go two ways. I
Yeah.
take that back.
The only prescription is more cowbell, Joe. Joe, where are you
How about
from?
more?
and where-
Well, mead's got honey in it, and honey is like good for health, so you should just drink this.
Yeah, it's just-
I mean, I don't know. I heard that somewhere.
So yeah, the health benefits, antioxidants, holistic healing aspects to mead. Anything that,
Lots of fruit.
Uh,
So much fruit in there. There's a ton of blackcurrant in this one.
very cool. So if you're not into fruit or veggies, you could just drink mead.
Yeah, honey wine.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like blackcurrant, you could just drink wine, honey water, and yeast. That's what the other one is.
Wow.
So
It's traditional.
when I wrote the story about you guys opening, I was doing a little research about mead in itself, and I'm just curious to know what you know about its history, because there's some expansive, long history that has to deal with me. Could we get into that a little bit?
If you want, I mean, there's so much. I mean,
It's like in ancient China,
in China,
the Nordics.
That's where they seem to have found it. But people see a lot of it in the Nordic countries.
Yeah.
That's where like the whole Viking thing comes into play.
And then Budweiser, Bud
Dilly
Light.
Dilly.
Yeah.
They've been making fun of us for a while. Which
No,
is,
no corn syrup.
So what?
Which honestly, the whole Dilly Dilly thing has been like the best free marketing we could ever ask for.
So I've seen the commercials. They mentioned mead in there.
Well, the whole Dilly Dilly thing started with like.
remember
With
the first one.
that, that whole thing was.
No tum, no mead.
We have a mead. Our pumpkin mead was called "Is That Autumnal?" That whole thing was free advertising for us. I think because AB and Bev have mentioned it, I feel like they think it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they would never bring anything up that they don't think is an upcoming thing or something that's worth mentioning.
Sure.
We're pretty fast growing craft alcohol. One of the fastest growing. There's like 500 in the country now. They generally we're growing pretty fast.
So in the Dilly Dilly commercials, the first one they were giving out Bud Lights to
Yeah.
everyone, and the one guy requested something offbeat. And what was it?
It was a mead.
That was what he was asking.
It's mead. That's how whole Dilly Dilly thing started. They're making fun of mead.
Awesome. Yeah, you can't buy publicity
Yeah.
like that.
No, you can't. No way.
You should make like a spin-off one.
Now that we have our Pit of Misery series, which is our lactose low ABV stuff that we originally did as homebrewers for the Blue Point Cast Festival when we're in with our homebrew club LIBME, the Long Island Beer and Malt Enthusiasts, and we did a sweet tart cherry mead with lactose in our cask, and we called it the Cherry Pit of Misery. When those commercials just first started, since it was at Blue Point, we're like, let's call it the Cherry Pit of Misery.
So you're gonna be back at the Cask Ale Festival?
Yeah, we're doing it as a meadery this year. We're doing it as like not home brewers.
Awesome. Are there any other meads?
You have official license now. You can't be a home brewer now.
I know. I can't. That's what I'm saying. And I said, and part of that is that barrel-aged beer that was in our barrel will be released there.
Awesome.
Will be part of what we're doing that on that day.
And you upped your canning process too, right?
We have a little. That's a little teeny tiny 2-head canner. It's cute. We haven't really used it yet.
That was great out of the can, by the way.
Yeah. I'm glad you like it in the can.
And you're hand filling those still, right?
I knew that.
Yes. Well, that was yeah. It's a very labor intensive right now. It's like rinse, purge, fill, seam.
One day you're gonna find out your true value and start slapping yourself in the face.
Yeah. You know how much more money I could have made? Because right now our bright tank, the vessel we carbonated in, isn't big enough to have a mobile canner even show up.
Okay.
So everything is done one.
Yeah,
can at a
they
time.
usually want to come in at about 7-10 barrels at the smallest amount.
I'm gonna con.
Maltman.
Yeah, I'm gonna con the Maltman in. Like,
Yeah, Maltman Canning was one of our sponsors so far, and he, if you're not familiar with mobile canning, it's very expensive to get a canning line
canning operation
and own
in
it
your-
yourself.
right.
So the way a lot of these breweries, they call a mobile canner per
Is
se.
this a fairly new phenomenon, the mobile canning?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I would say
a couple years.
couple years, but this guy just opened up shop on Long Island, so
He's awesome.
Where's he from?
He does smaller batches.
he's got a tricky story. His truck is in one place, he lives in another place, and his equipment is at destination unknown.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So and they're actually starting a slowly starting a quality control portion of it.
yeah, which is very unique to what he does. Is he takes the science aspect of it, the samples. I'll let him talk more about that.
I'm at destination unknown a lot. So they're there like propping yeast or doing like reading oxygen levels in cans and all that stuff. So they're starting that, and they're really good dudes. So they've been canning Dubco for a while. So I think I could probably get him to come to 100 gallons me one day. I want to try to.
We just shot him out too, so he
Yeah.
should just owe you something at this
Yeah.
point.
That's
Come
pretty
on.
ingenious. Are
Come on,
people
man.
doing that in other parts of the country, the mobile canning?
Yeah,
I
there's
remember
a
talking
major
to-
there's a major one called Ironheart that does it. That has canning canning
It
lines
could be
all over the
it could be
country.
$150,000 to buy a canning line. So,
Yeah, I remember talking to
And,
the guys
and
at
that's
Long
not
Island
even
back in
and
the
honestly
day.
that's not even that much in
Yeah.
the scheme of things. And you got I think Ironheart does when you start adding on other parts, like if you're familiar like Bridge Lane and those guys out there can wine now, can still wine. They're like nitro dosing options for your cans. That's like another couple $1,000s to add to be able to can still product.
I still prefer my can in a box with a little thing to open.
Can in a box? That's weird.
I mean, my can. Is that what I
Why are
said?
you putting a can in a box? How you gonna drink that way? It's weird, bizarre.
I sort of even look at me. I'm like, no one's
I
heard of
feel like
wine in a box before. I thought that
box
was all right.
wine.
I feel like that was on like Saturday Night Live or something like that with Justin Timberlake. My can in a box.
Yeah. I remember that skit. All right, move on to someone else. Ask your question, Nick.
You know, where can people in general learn more? We'll start with you, Andrew. Where can people find you, learn more about your mission and what you guys do?
We have a website, localtolocals.com, or we could be found on either Facebook or Instagram. You can email me with any questions you have, contact@localtolocals.com, and I'd be happy to tell you anything you want to know.
Or you could just walk into Hicksville Beverage and buy all the beer, because if you haven't been to Hicksville Beverage and you like beer, you're missing out. That place has got a ton of stuff, ton of good stuff. So you should go there and harass Andrew and buy all his beer too. Meadwerks, we're in Lindenhurst, so you can find us there. We're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 to 8, 3 to 9, 12 to 8, 12 to 6.
Take the train, right?
Take the train. We're a quarter mile from the train station.
If you come from Patchogue,
Bayshore, you're on the Babylon line.
Yep.
Super easy. And our closing times are very loose closing times. Like we never close when we're supposed to close. So we're usually there pretty late.
Nice.
Yeah, I was talking to RJ from the Chamber, and he was like, this is the first time in my life I was able to bar hop in Lindenhurst. You went to your place,
Yeah.
went to Restoration Kitchen, you went to the tavern.
Yep.
So that's awesome. All the things are
It's definitely an up and coming.
There's so many cool things. There's so many cool things coming up in Lindenhurst. Like one of the local Verde Kitchen, Kitchen of Cocktails. They're one of their partners, and their executive chef Zach Rude is opening a Japanese izakaya ramen spot right next door to us, which is going to be Absolutely.
Bakudo,
Yeah.
Called Bakudo.
Nick
It's
wrote-
going to be insane. Up the block, there are 3 girls that I used to work with from The Good Life in Massapequa.
Oh, you worked with them?
Yeah, I
didn't know
worked there for six and a half years. They're like very good friends of mine. They're opening a small plate Latin inspired place right up the block from
I
us.
just read about that. Yeah.
Dude,
You
it's
can read
gonna-
all about this on greaterbabylon.com.
greaterbabylon.com.
That's where I read it. See?
Yeah. Go check out their website and their Facebook and their Instagram, all of the things. And then with Restoration Kitchen, there are so many fun, cool things coming to Lindenhurst. Like, it's an explosion. There are people looking at some of the bigger buildings. There are, not to shout anyone out, but there are a few guys that own successful businesses that have been poking around Lindenhurst looking for a possible another spot. Like, it's got Root and Branch is coming 1.7 miles away from us in Copeg. There's
Yeah,
Two-
Lindenhurst is
2 years, Lindenhurst is going to be awesome.
Did you expect that going into opening Lindenhurst?
We saw the potential.
People
in it.
followed him. That's how it all worked.
I'm not saying people followed me.
They knew he was a very business savvy guy. Saw him open in Lindenhurst and said, "We better jump on the bandwagon."
Yeah, we got to follow that guy. That guy's super cool.
Guy's been in the restaurant business for
forever.
years. He just got to know something.
Yeah, he's like old. He just doesn't. He might not look that old, but he is. We opened and we actually, the space we have, it wasn't even the space we originally looked at. The space we originally looked at was actually the space that Bakudo is going into, and that
The Italian pizza place.
that place just
the
wasn't
Italian
for
pizza
us.
place.
The Italian pizza place.
I was gonna say Italian restaurant, but I think it was just more of a pizza place.
Yeah, it was a pizza place, from what I understand. And we stumbled upon our spot, but the guy who showed us space is on a bunch of the village boards. So like he kind of told us on what was going on. From that point, we inquired a bit through the village, met some of the trustees, and saw what they were doing and see what they're trying to do and the grants they received and the things like. So we like. It's one of those things that like we should get in here now because this place is going to get awesome and it's going to get expensive.
Yeah, especially with the Tri-Tech and all
Yep.
those amazing apartments that are
Yep.
coming. Just look what he did for Patchogue with New Village right here. I mean, those
Patrick, they did the same thing in Farmingdale.
exactly.
Same company.
Nick, is that where you're looking to live in Lindenhurst? I feel like that's where you're gonna end up.
Yeah, and I
You
keep
got engaged in Amityville.
Yes, this is true.
You're getting drawn west.
Yeah,
I was to say we could have been roommates.
yeah.
Yeah, it could have been roomies.
No, I love it in Lindenhurst. I love what's going on there, and especially just poking my head in there, just writing about all you guys and all the great stories going on. And everyone who says it, like I always ask people, like, what's your favorite part about Lindenhurst? They all say it's the people, and it's true. I've started to see that all the different business owners, just people in the streets. They're all great people.
Yeah, a lot of our
Definitely
regular,
that next up and coming town.
100%.
For sure.
Like, and a lot of our regulars that come in, like our village locals, and they're like, well, we don't necessarily want to go to Babylon and spend our money, but we have to because there's nothing here. So with the growing restaurants and us and 27A Brewing, which we did a hoppy mead with, when he opens, like, it's going to give the people of Lindenhurst a place to bounce around and spend their money, keep their money in their village.
Yeah, and you guys in 27A are gonna be right off and on Main.
Literally,
the main
he's like 60 yards out my back door.
Yeah, a lot of breweries and industrial areas
Yep.
or strip
No,
malls.
it's gonna be
and You
awesome.
guys are all right downtown.
It's gonna be awesome. It's a cool thing right now.
So when is gonna be the Alive in Lindenhurst? When is that?
We'll see.
Street festival. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I hope we get to that point where we could pull something like that off.
Just talk to these guys at the Patchogue Chamber. They're there to help people with stuff like that. They helped Riverhead. They helped Bay Shore. And it's kind of like a co-branding thing with the Alive stuff, so the people know what they're getting into before they go. Just a matter of whether the village government is on board or not. You know?
I think they would be
Alive at Lindy or something.
Yeah.
if
love that.
Yeah.
the right businesses were there and there were enough businesses. I think it's an easily obtainable goal.
Yeah, awesome.
Andrew, Joe, thank you so much for joining us on the 495 podcast. Another successful episode is completed. For everyone who wants to check out more episodes, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify. You can check us out on our website. There's cops pulling us over next door. But guys, thank you again for joining us. This is great.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, guys.
This is the strongest that I've ever felt before. In my current state and in these days of war, we must grow together or the end is near. Thicken up your skin and loosen up your fears. I've been waiting through my limitations, choosing to move.